Hey guys, Zane here with another One Take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Cryalot EP, Icarus. Icarus is the debut EP and first ever full-time solo outing from Sarah Bonito frontwoman Sarah Bonito under the stage name Cryalot. If you aren't familiar with Bonito's music and her past work, she's a very interesting individual. I mean, KKB were definitely one of, and are still, one of the most interesting pop music acts out there with their own unique twist on experimentalisms within the realm of popular music, and her feature on Porter Robinson's last album, Nurture, via the track Musician, as a single was easily one of the best electro-pop tracks within the past couple of years. Even with a relatively young career still, she is a still highly accomplished musician overall, and as such, I think that a lot of people, including myself, had high expectations for a project that was solely helmed by her and her creative vision. As such, it's all the more disappointing that Icarus is shockingly unremarkable. Perhaps most surprising is that Icarus fails to introduce any at least slightly new concepts within the current musical landscape, which really seemed like a primary selling point for the entire concept and purpose behind this record in the first place. There are constantly a handful of experimental artists and musicians within the mainstream conscience that continuously introduce more of an alternative and experimental, different sound into mainstream music, whether that would be the late great Sophie, or currently active musicians like Rosalia, or even to some extent Billie Eilish, and that handful of musicians grows more and more every year to the point that things that were experimental a decade ago have been now normalized in projects from people like 100 Gex and Charlie XCX. These are people who have introduced unique sonic landscapes via their own respective combinations of electronic music, pop music, and a variety of other genres, but primarily electronic music and pop music, and as such, it really did feel like Cryalot needed to do something different to stand out, but it did seem likely it was going to do that, considering the woman behind it has done so many other really fantastic works in the past. But unfortunately, a lot of Icarus just does feel like a retread of trends and sounds that were maybe experimental a few years back, but feel less so now. Icarus' status as an EP and the in turn short runtime do admittedly already kind of drag things down a little bit in terms of bending sonic landscapes and sonic aesthetics, but it certainly doesn't help that the few actual experiments done here, the few risks taken, aren't exactly successful in their own right either. The meandering nature of Bonito's vocals on Labyrinth don't suit the futuristic modernist approach to the actual instrumental. Meanwhile, the industrial passages on Hell Is Here feel forced at best. Generally speaking, the different concepts and ideas that are introduced on Icarus feel unclear and even uncertain of themselves and what they want to be. There's very little musical development that takes place here. It just kind of seems like we're throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks, except none of it sticks because all of it has been done before in the past in the exact same manner that's being done on this EP. Simply put, it's disappointing that even the few risks that are taken here are still flops in their own right, without being lost in the mix of a bunch of other experiments. Icarus also feels uncomfortably compressed, which is definitely a thing that really drags down the listening experience as a whole, because if you have a mediocre EP, which is largely what this EP is, that's one thing, that's fine, it just kind of exists and you can forget about it. But if something is so compressed that it's actually unpleasant to listen to, that can make it a bad EP, and that's what happens to this record. Bonito's previous work prior to the Cryalot project was always seemingly bursting with color and life and ready to pull the listener into whatever world it was trying to create, whether it was something so ridiculously psychotic or something really beautiful or even nostalgic at times, and frankly, Icarus is just none of that whatsoever. Bonito's vocals are mixed in a manner that they feel very thin on the actual recording, while the instrumentals, particularly the tones of the synths in question used on this EP, feel very unremarkable and just truly don't stand out, not even in the general musical landscape as I was saying before, but even on this record exclusively. For an artist known for having a lot of passion being put into her own music, Sarah Bonito's work under the name of Cryalot, so far at least, fails to have that much actual engagement with the listener. So overall, Icarus is a disappointing failure of an EP, which especially comes as a shock considering the woman behind its many past successes. I'm going to give this EP 2 stars out of 5. My one take on this record is that Icarus, even with its short length, should have been a solid platform for Sarah Bonito to succeed as a solo artist, but a lack of complete experimentation and artist-to-listener connection prevents that from ever happening. So again, 2 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I will see you guys in the next one.